Record of Fugitives, November 1856, from the papers of Sidney Howard Gay. Read by Frank Blissett. November 10th. 5 men from North Carolina. Per schooner, Major Lathan, Miller, slave of John Latham, Williamstown, Martin County, North Carolina, farmer. Left him the 12th of last July. Has been in the swamp since. He had a friend, colored, a ship carpenter, who acts as agent for the captain with whom he was in communication during his stay in the swamp, and who arranged the plan of his getting off. Wednesday morning next will be 4 weeks since he left the swamp and got on board the vessel. The reason of his leaving him was that the master and he could not agree, and he whipped him once. Has a wife and 3 children, about 45 years old. Henry Gorham, house carpenter. Richard Gorham of Tarboro in North Carolina, farmer in cotton, master. Started last February. Been in the swamp ever since. Left wife and 1 child, between 34 and 35 years old. Wiley Madison, farmer, gardener, and waiter of Dinwiddie County, Virginia. Dr. William Anderson, master. Started last week Wednesday. Went to Petersburg, to Richmond, to Creek, and took boat to Washington, to Baltimore, to Philadelphia. 19 years. William Wilson, blacksmith, Plymouth, North Carolina. Dr. Tom Warren, master. Leaves wife. 42 years. Left 4 weeks Wednesday. Went right aboard the vessel. Andrew Williams of South End, Camden County, North Carolina. Engineer, belonged to John T. Williams, master, farmer, miller, etc. Leaves wife and 1 child. Left 7 weeks ago. Took the vessel. About 27 years old. These all, with the exception of Wiley Madison, came on the vessel. November 12th. 3 persons. John Henry Bigod of Washington. John Moore, master, bacon and lard merchant, F Street, between 9th and 10th, number 349. Left last Saturday week. Leaves wife free woman. Bad treatment. Henry Sims, same place. Albert Berry, master, farmer and Negro trader, Prince George's County. Leaves mother and 4 sisters. Bad treatment. Betsy Stewart, Mrs. Nesbit, owner up at Mrs. Gibbons. November 24th. Henry Johnson, alias Lewis, from Richmond, Virginia, where he worked in a blacksmith's shop, he being owned by a Mr. Seeley, who hired him out for that purpose. Johnson says he had holiday given him, and being down about the wharfs, the cook of the vessel he arrived here in asked him if he would not like his freedom, and replying in the affirmative, was taken on board, stowed away, and cared for by his friend who enticed him away. Johnson has been, he says, about 3 weeks on his way to the north. Johnson says he can make horse nails and can do a little at horseshoeing. Is a single man and about 22 years old. Mr. Seeley, Johnson's owner, lives on his farm near Norfolk, Virginia. Johnson says he has 2 brothers in slavery in Richmond and that he has no other relatives living. He arrived here in an oyster schooner last night, and further Johnson saith not. Henry Brown, alias Johnson, from Maryland, where he was owned by a Mr. Levi Evans, a farmer. Johnson says he left Maryland for the North last fall, but met with an accident on his way from bondage in Wilmington, Delaware. Being well known in Wilmington, Delaware, through which place he was making his journey north, and fearing he would be discovered, he leaped from the cars whilst in motion, and in doing so came near losing his life. As it was, he is a cripple for the remainder of his days here upon earth. Johnson is a single man, about 20 years old. Has 3 sisters, slaves, also in Maryland. And further Johnson saith not. November 26th. William Bailey, alias William Smith, says he left Jamaica Point, Talbot County, Maryland, on the night of the 15th, in company with 2 other men bound on the same errand, a journey to the north, and traveled 25 miles before 12 o'clock, when he fell in with a woman staying at the house of a friend where she had been since January last, when she attempted to take herself away. We arrived safe in Philadelphia on Monday night last, and there being a large reward offered for our recovery, $2,600, there were 4 of us, divided. I being sent alone, the others are expected tomorrow. Smith says he left a wife and 4 children, respectively aged 7 years, 4 years, 2 years, and 10 months. His wife is aged 25, he is 32. Smith says he left his master on account of ill treatment, of which lately he has received more than he could or would bear. Smith says he has worked a steam engine for the last 30 months, and further saith not. November 27th. Eliza Minoki, from Dorchester County, Maryland, about 42 years old. Anne Greaves, her owner, had hired her away so far from her husband, who is free, that she ran away rather than go. Has 2 children, son and daughter. Mistress gave the son to her nephew, who took him to Missouri when he was 4 years old. The boy clung frantically to his mother, begging her to save him, but in vain. Never heard from him since. The daughter is now 16 or 17, belongs to the mother's mistress, has 4 children. First ran away in January last, took refuge in the woods, alone. Free colored families aided her, laid out in the woods till wheat harvest, then came to Delaware and stayed till 1st November. My Savior protected me, and I trusted in him. I did not even get frosted. Often suffered for want of food and clothing, and often flogged. A brave, earnest woman. Came with Harriet Tubman. Went to Canada, sent her to Troy, needed no money. That was Record of Fugitives, November 1856, from the papers of Sidney Howard Gay. Read by Frank Blissett.